Monument Planning Commission for March 14th, 2018. Roll call, please.
Chairman Delaney.
Here.
Commissioner Dick. Commissioner Fitzpatrick. Commissioner Glover.
Here.
Commissioner Grisdala.
Here.
Commissioner Kemple.
Here.
Commissioner Hours.
Here.
Commissioner Straub.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
All right. Please rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, approval of the minutes for February 14th. Anybody have any changes?
Move approval.
All right.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0. Public hearings. We have a zone change, 77 3rd Street, DA-02-2018. Jennifer?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. The only item actually before you tonight is this zone change for 77 3rd Street. So a summary of this, and this is actually going to be quite brief. It's a little over an acre site over on 3rd Street. It's currently zoned, this is very long, R1 Established Neighborhood Single Family Low Density Residential Overlay District. And the applicant is requesting to rezone that to B General Business District, which is how most of the rest of the downtown is zoned. There's currently a building on the site. It was most recently used for childcare, and before that it was actually used as a church. So it has not been residential in at least the recent past. So here is an aerial view of the site. Again, it's even labeled here. It was previously Little Scrops Learning Center here on 3rd Street, just west of Washington, on that northwest corner. So this is the subject property that the applicant is requesting to rezone. It does have some residential to the east, but to the west and to the south is mostly all commercial businesses. So a quick look at our current zoning map. The subject property is highlighted up here in this teal color. Again, it's that R1 overlay district with B, the business, again to the west, and all to the south. So it's kind of a determination of where do you draw that line. And then let's take a look at, this is a clip from the future land use plan map from the new comprehensive plan. So the subject property, this arrow is pointing to the subject property. On the comprehensive plan future land use map, it's actually called out as downtown. Again, sort of fitting in with that downtown area to the south and to the west. And then the properties to the east and to the north still maintain that single family designation. So this request is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. Again, I know that's extremely brief compared to what you're used to hearing from me, but this is a little more simple request than some of our most recent projects. Staff does recommend approval of this project. It meets based on the findings that it complies with the standards and approval criteria. And staff is available to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I did.
Sure.
Mike's on, I guess. So for this particular piece of property, it looks like it's been operating as a business in the business sense, and it said there's a R1 residential overlay. So what does that necessarily mean? So it's been operating as a business in a residential area for quite some time.
So both of those uses were allowed as a use by special permit. In the R1, essentially by changing it to B, it would then allow by right both of those uses as well as the other types of uses that are in the downtown. So they were operating appropriately, but again, if that exact same business wanted to move in tomorrow, they would have to go through that full use by permit process, even though that's essentially how that property has been set up to be used.
In the one piece of property that's residential to the north, that's residential as well at this time, but you're proposing that in the future. We're not, that piece right there,
That
Right.
piece right there. Well, so we're certainly not, if they came in and wanted to rezone,
Right,
but otherwise, you know, just because the comprehensive plan kind of includes that whole block,
mhm,
as comprehensive plans do, right, they're not really lot specific, so no one would
Right.
force them to rezone,
right,
or anything like that. It's simply, again, these are sort of these bubble type of diagrams that included that whole block, but it would not necessarily affect them in any way. And I did want to mention one other thing. I did get one phone call, from a nearby resident who was in support of this, and she specifically asked that I tell this commission that she called in support. So I'm going to say
Cool.
that.
Thank you.
Tonight. That was the only call that staff has received about this. Did that answer your questions, Commissioner?
yeah, it did, my only concern is like, you know, a church and a daycare, and I've seen the daycare and the way it's configuration, it's pretty non-impactful in the sense
Mhm.
of the home right next to it, adjacent to it, so I'm just wondering, you know, by doing this, then if they wanna come through and they wanna put in a auto maintenance facility in there, they could theoretically, right,
Well, I
just cause
don't
we have a
believe-
big house?
They have to be allowed in the downtown, in the B zone, right, which is typically more of a downtown type
Shopping,
use.
yeah.
Right, it does allow for some retail, some office space, those types of things.
But we have like big L's down there, big A's, you know, the motor maintenance, you know what I mean, like, equipment maintenance and
Yeah.
whatnot's down right,
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally 2 doors down from there, so that's the only reason I say that, is just, I'm just trying to think, what would the effect be on an individual that, you know,
Right,
lived in next door, and I know we can screen with, you know, fencing and whatnot, I just don't wanna take away their, you know, I just wanna be considerate of that, I guess is what
sure.
I'm saying.
Well, and I will let you know that, staff did discuss the, you know, requested zoning, with the applicant to give them a better understanding of what our zone options are, essentially. And the B zone was chosen because, to be consistent with the other downtown zoning, so it didn't, staff didn't think it made sense to go C1 or
Right,
something like that,
right.
and that's why, again, that's why that zone was chosen.
Yeah. Alright, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? If the applicant would like to come up and say something? Welcome to.
I'm not sure what to say. It's my first town hall meeting.
Just state your name and address,
Okay.
and then just why you're requesting this, and if they have any questions.
My name is Lisa Newman, and I own the 77 3rd Street building. We were operating as Little Sprouts Learning Center there. And my understanding is before that, the lady had a child care in there for 25 years. And then before that, it was a church. So we're wanting to rezone the property. It's up for sale right now. And so I think it's going to be more appealing to people. It's really not set up as a home or residential at all. I'm not sure that anyone's ever lived in, I mean, it's a church, so I don't think anyone's ever lived in the building. So we're just wanting to change it to business to make it kind of more appealing to buyers and to save them the steps, because it takes a little bit of time. So
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Thank you. I will now open this up to public hearing. If there's somebody that would like to talk on this project, come on up. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And if there are any questions from the commissioners,
No?
okay,
Yeah.
Quick and easy.
proceed.
We're all like, this is my
We're
one
not,
point.
we're not done yet.
Cautiously approaching.
So,
We're waiting for the curveball to come
I know I usually have curveballs. I don't think so tonight.
It's pretty straightforward.
Do you know approximately what kind of business you're looking for to come in?
I don't know. We've had a few people look at it that are interested in like a dog grooming facility or something along those lines. But we've also had the district interested in a preschool to help build kind of expand, because they're kind of tight. I'm not sure that they're going to go for it, but they checked it out for that purpose.
District 38?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool, all right. If there's no further questions, we need a motion.
I would like to move that we approve project DA 02, tax 2018, the zone change for 77th 3rd Street, Based upon the findings that the proposed development complies with all the standards and the zoning change complies with standards and criteria for approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Grisdala?
Yay or approve? Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Kimple?
Yes, approved.
Commissioner Hours?
Yes.
Commissioner Straw?
Yes.
Chairman Delaney?
Yes.
Commissioner Glover?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Thank you. You're good to go.
You're welcome to
So on to the
stay.
next.
You're welcome to stay. It won't be very long. Public comment for items not on the agenda. Does anyone would like to come up and say their mind? Okay. Next item is reports and communications for the commission. Commissioners, anybody has anything they would like to say? Or bring up?
We had chatted, and I'm sorry I couldn't be here at the last minute. The last meeting I had an emergency. We had talked about putting forward a recommendation to the Board of Trustees about budgeting for and prioritizing an overhaul of our town code, our zoning code.
That was like 2 months ago.
Is that text available at all?
Is what?
Is a text available at all? We'd asked for something to be drafted that we could vote on.
Well, the method I usually use is the manager's report, and that's been a little iffy.
Yeah.
To transmit this kind of information, if you watched the candidate forum on Monday,
Okay. No,
you would have seen a lot of expression of that same desire by both existing members that will remain regardless, and the people that are candidates to become new trustees. So I think that effort will move forward for a budget discussion next year and probably be well received by them.
Okay. Is there, I believe that GOCO can do grants that can help aid in the funding for that kind of effort. Is there any upcoming deadlines or grant application deadlines that would need to be?
I think we would focus on DOLA and the mineral impact that we use for the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
And we would, for the amount of money we'd be asking, we'd go through the competitive process, whereas for the comprehensive plan, it was under 25, they can
Right.
approve administratively.
Okay.
So we would, look at, they used to, I haven't looked at it recently, they used to have 2 cycles a year for mineral impact, and I don't know if they still do that. If they do, one would be in the fall.
Okay.
After the election.
And then we should have a feeling for, what the board's tendency is in terms of how much money they might want to put out to be matched by a grant.
So we heard these discussions start in terms of the budget after the election in April, and then if they prioritize it in the budget, then we look at a fall competitive cycle potentially for a grant to help.
Correct,
Okay.
and that grant would be then granted in the next year.
For the next,
Typically-
yeah, that makes sense,
typically,
yeah.
They review them in September, October, and they actually issue them early the next year.
Okay.
With the delay as far as timing goes, can we postpone a lot of our upcoming hearings? Is that within our rights, or do we have to wait till
What would we-
continue?
What would we do that for?
So we could just have a better goal and understanding as far as budgeting and
It'll take a while.
focus on where our town wants to go. Because I feel like we're all over the board. Literally, we're all over as far as yes, no, maybe so. I know we did the comprehensive plan, but to put it all together and hear it from our town board saying, okay, we need to focus on this, growth, schools, what have you. There's not a lot of guidance right now, other than people coming in, applicants coming in and dictating what's going to happen.
Well, that's their right under the existing code, and it would be their right under any future code to come in and make a request. Then that request would be reviewed, as we do now, and evaluated under our criteria, which we do now. The criteria may change slightly. The criteria is not going to change to the point because of the purpose of the zoning and subdivision ordinance, which is to guide growth, not to prevent it. Any changes in the code would simply be refining the product we want to see, not the businesses we want to have, if that's where you're headed.
So
And people already have zoning out there
Therefore,
on
they're-
these properties, and that gives them certain rights. So if
They
we
do.
modify the zoning ordinance, I can pretty much guarantee you that the zones aren't going to be changed unless the property owner wants them
Right.
on anyone's property.
So it's like the issue of, that I always bring up about what the distance is between the homes. So for instance, like the setbacks, that would be an example of what we could have in our ordinance that says, hey, setbacks within these type of zoning have to be, in the future here on 10 feet, 5 feet, whatever it may be, right? That's kind of what we're getting at, is how we have structured that, or if we're gonna build in the downtown business, I'm not saying it right, but downtown area, or the Wendy Historic District, you're gonna have certain building structural codes, or whatever it would look like, facade codes, or,
Sure.
you know.
Actually, the B zone has significant
Right,
criteria about that now.
right.
Hopefully the folks that just getting their zone change know what it means to, if they enlarge and or build a new building, because it's a pretty long list of architectural and other types of regulations for the B zone.
But I think that's what you're getting at, is how do you want the community to look and feel? So the B zone might have some very strict criteria, where we do our other, PD site plans, and then we're kind of setting the criteria at that time, but that criteria is based on whatever the code says. So if the code said you can't have any houses over 20 feet, well then that would be our guidance
Well said,
to
yes.
say, well, you can build whatever you want, but it can't, because the code says over here it can't be over 20 feet. So the planning commission, the planning folks in the town would say, as they're working with the developer, well, you can build whatever you want, but it can't be over 20 feet, as an example, or you have to build these type of buildings, or these far apart, these setbacks, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's the type of detail we're gonna get, but
Yes,
like he's talking about the
In part,
zones
yes.
and all that stuff, that's already created.
I would just add to the original question,
Yeah.
just 2 points. One is, these processes typically take a long time. 18 months, 24 months is not unusual. So I don't think it's realistic to say that we can't function sort of business as usual, and we are entitled to provide applicants with their due process.
Many
So
of-
that kind of goes back to the original question.
Many of our concerns with the code have to do with consistency
Very much
and
so.
modernization. In terms of new uses, address things that just aren't addressed in there, whether it's Airbnb or other things similar to that.
Huge issue.
Breweries.
Comes up all the time.
Yeah. Well, and then the whole issue we had, I would think was a couple times, the attached duplexes
Mhm.
are not currently mentioned
Anywhere.
anywhere.
Yeah. those
So
kinds
you
of
guys had to
things.
do gymnastics just to kind of figure out how to
Exactly.
get that to work.
And so, you know, in those terms, we completely agree, we wanna see those fixes, but I don't think we would ever say that we can't move forward with what we have. Although we're the biggest proponents of wanting to improve it, it's not the type of document where we can just say,
We're gonna stop.
we're done until we get a perfect one, because again, that's a very long process, and it typically involves a lot of, you know, community input and that type of thing, and I can promise, no matter how much we spend or how much work we do, there will still be people who don't like many things in it, right? So unfortunately, that's just kind of how codes are, and they'll have to be updated again, you know, another 7 years or so.
Right, since I've been on the board, there was signage requirements in the code, and then it got taken out of the code to where it could be administratively handled, so it wouldn't no longer go to the planning commission, because all signs, a long time ago, many years ago, like when that first, whatever that billboard is on 25,
I know,
That-
it's.
that had to be like one thing, and then it had to go a different way, you know? So that'll change with time, you know what I mean, but
So-
she's right, it will change.
Okay, so we kind of reapproach this coming back in right after the election in April, and thank you.
Okay. Planning staff, are there any?
I do have one. Commissioner Temple, actually, I think it was several months ago, I had asked for volunteers for one of you to serve on our Board of Adjustment. Commissioner Temple volunteered for that, so thank you for that. And he is actually on the agenda, he just learned a little bit ago. On Monday night to be appointed to our Board of Adjustment, we do have a variance case waiting to be heard that we need a full board, or at least 4 people on the board, in order to have that hearing.
Mhm.
So we're hoping to get Commissioner Kemple and 2 applicants appointed on Monday night. So
Great.
he'll be serving double duty. For only
Okay.
1 meeting, we don't expect too much.
Thank you for volunteering.
Anything else? Next planning commission meeting is April 11th, 2018 at 6:30.
And again, I can't tell you for sure if we will have business ready for that meeting or not, so I'll know within the next week or 2. So.
Okay. If there's nothing else,
Motion adjourned.
we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Wham, bam, thank you,
Wait a
man.
minute, hold on. I gotta say this. In the entire time I've been here, 11 years, or 9 to 11 years, whatever it is now, I've never had a planning commission go less than 30 minutes, let alone less than 22 and 23 minutes.
That's amazing.
That's unreal.
Official time is less than 21 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was quick. That was quick.
Thank you all.
Very quick question. Can I go to coffee